In the void of the Andromeda sector, the star cruisers of the Veroth Dominion drifted with an arrogance born from centuries of unchallenged dominion, their officers confident that the next planet to fall into submission would be nothing more than a minor footnote in the annals of galactic conquest. And yet as the Dominion scanners lit upon Earth, a tiny, blue and green speck orbiting an unremarkable sun, there was laughter and dismissal across the command decks for the reports labeled, "Humanity is primitive, technologically backward, and diplomatically inconsequential, a species not worth the effort of true engagement." But Captain Turnin, observing the faint biosignatures and atmospheric anomalies, felt a twitch of unease that he quickly suppressed, relying instead on the cold assurances of Dominion doctrine. While back on Earth, unaware of the approaching armada, humans went about their lives with the ordinary concerns of weather, politics, and the quiet hum of scientific ambition. Yet beneath this mundane surface, a current of vigilance had always existed, seated in centuries of conflict and survival instincts honed by a planet that had demanded ingenuity at every turn, so that when the first Dominion probe pierced the upper atmosphere and began its scans, humanity responded not with panic, but with subtle observation, redirecting communications, analyzing data, and preparing protocols that had long been kept in secrecy, for Earth's leaders had never underestimated the potential of the stars and had learned to trust the judgment of their most skilled minds in defense. And as the Dominion fleet gathered, deploying sleek assault vessels and automated war drones, they assumed a minimal resistance, sending formal warnings laced with condescension, suggesting that humanity surrender its nascent colonies and technological resources or face obliteration. But the humans, led by a council of scientists, strategists, and military commanders, recognized the tone not as diplomacy but as insult, and they prepared countermeasures that had never before been tested in real-world scenarios, integrating experimental propulsion systems, electromagnetic pulse networks, and AI-guided defense protocols that could autonomously adapt to the Dominion's tactics, while on the Dominion's flagship, emissaries attempted the usual negotiations, presenting themselves with grandiose gestures of superiority, only to be met with calm, measured responses that hinted at capabilities far beyond the Dominion's predictions. And as the first shots were fired in the orbital skirmishes, Dominion vessels found their weapons disrupted by countermeasures that seemed almost prescient, and drones that were programmed for precision attacks were intercepted and redirected, leading to catastrophic failures that no Dominion officer could have foreseen. All while humanity leveraged not brute force alone but cunning, drawing the fleet into carefully orchestrated traps, exploiting gravitational anomalies, deploying decoy colonies, and coordinating multi-layered electronic warfare campaigns, revealing a level of strategy and foresight that stunned observers. And as the initial wave of assaults collapsed under weight of unexpected resistance, whispers of disbelief rippled through the Dominion command, where generals who had never faced opposition now had to recalibrate every assumption they had ever held about humanity. And on the ground, human engineers and soldiers moved with synchronized efficiency, deploying defense satellites, activating planetary shields, and even launching counteroffensives that disabled entire battle groups with surgical precision, proving that what had been written off as primitive resilience was, in fact, the hallmark of adaptability and innovation that the Dominion had foolishly ignored. And as days turned into weeks, the Dominion's losses mounted exponentially, communication networks jammed, supply lines cut, and morale began to crumble. And in every engagement, humans displayed an uncanny ability to anticipate enemy maneuvers, often sacrificing little while extracting maximum impact, demonstrating that their species had evolved not for the sake of dominance but for survival through ingenuity. And the Dominion, which had assumed the galaxy would bend easily to its will, now faced the horrifying realization that they had underestimated a species capable of turning disadvantage into a weapon, predictability into chaos, and observation into tactical superiority. And as the battle for Earth escalated, strategic strikes against orbital stations, deep space drones, and command vessels revealed humanity's true breadth of power, from AI-driven fleet coordination to electromagnetic manipulation of enemy systems, all executed with discipline that combined instinct, intellect, and an unyielding drive to protect their homeworld, culminating in the first major turning point when a human task force infiltrated the Dominion's forward command, neutralizing key assets and demonstrating an ability to operate behind enemy lines with surgical precision, causing panic and forcing retreat orders that shattered centuries of the Dominion's sense of invincibility. And as the smoke cleared over orbiting battlefields, a message from Earth went out across open channels, not as a threat but as a statement, asserting that humanity had never sought domination but would not hesitate to defend itself, leaving the Dominion fleets in stunned silence, re-evaluating everything they thought they knew, understanding at last that the species they had dismissed as inconsequential had orchestrated a catastrophe of their own making, and that underestimating humans had been their gravest error, one that would echo through galactic history as the moment the stars learned that humanity's strength was never to be measured by appearance or past weakness, but by ingenuity, resilience, and an indomitable will to survive and protect all they valued. As the Dominion reeled from the shocking effectiveness of humanity's orbital defenses, Earth's leaders convened in secure subterranean command hubs, their discussions blending tactical precision with an almost intuitive understanding of the Dominion's psychology, anticipating reactions before they even happened, while humans across the globe monitored every probe, every subtle movement in space, integrating AI-assisted simulations with real-time data to predict enemy strategies and identify weak points. And the Dominion, meanwhile, struggled to coordinate a coherent counteroffensive, their grand fleets now fragmented by failed communications, rogue drones, and the relentless ingenuity of human commanders, who used Earth's natural resources to their advantage, repurposing satellites into offensive platforms, manipulating magnetic field to disrupt energy shields, and deploying stealth drones that could infiltrate Dominion command vessels undetected, striking with timing and precision that left alien officers scrambling for explanations. And as the first Dominion general began to grasp the scale of their miscalculation, internal disputes erupted over strategy and blame, revealing that arrogance had blinded them to the possibility that humanity's strengths were not merely technological but cultural, a species that thrived on cooperation, adaptive thinking, and an unyielding drive to protect not only their homeworld but allies who had once been ignored. And with every skirmish, humans learned, adapted, and improved, turning failures into lessons and turning small victories into cascading advantages, while Dominion propaganda struggled to maintain morale, unable to explain the inexplicable effectiveness of a species they had deemed inferior. And on the ground, human engineers accelerated experimental projects, from suborbital railguns capable of striking distant fleets to AI-driven reconnaissance systems that could anticipate enemy formations, and these efforts were coordinated with the elegance of a symphony, each maneuver designed to maximize effect while minimizing human loss, showcasing a discipline and unity that the Dominion could neither predict nor comprehend. And as weeks passed, the human offensive expanded beyond mere defense, targeting forward supply lines, sabotaging command stations, and exploiting interstellar trade routes with surgical precision, forcing Dominion fleets to retreat further from Earth and reconsider the very feasibility of conquest, while the human populace remained calm and resolute, understanding that the war they were fighting was not merely for survival but for demonstrating a truth the galaxy had consistently ignored, that humanity could not be measured by assumptions, that underestimation carried consequences that could not be contained. And as the Dominion sent increasingly desperate messages, attempting diplomacy cloaked in intimidation, humans responded with controlled assertiveness, using communication networks to expose strategic vulnerabilities, highlight Dominion overreach, and subtly warn of greater capabilities yet to be revealed, all while orchestrating multi-layered feints and ambushes that left alien admiral questioning the reliability of their own intelligence and even doubting the competence of their most seasoned officers. And in the midst of this chaos, key human figures emerged, commanders and scientists whose names would soon echo across the stars, leading boarding parties, coordinating orbital strikes, and deploying advanced AI protocols that turned Dominion technology against itself, creating scenarios where fleets self-destructed or collided due to carefully manipulated gravitational anomalies. And the Dominion, once supremely confident in their control of the sector, now faced a cascading crisis, with losses multiplying, internal discord fracturing command hierarchies, and fear taking hold as humans executed rescue mission for captured allies, freed enslaved populations on remote colonies, and demonstrated an unwavering moral compass coupled with tactical brilliance. And every success reinforced a lesson that humanity's strength lay not in aggression but in creativity, collaboration, and the relentless pursuit of survival and justice. and as Part 2 drew toward the culmination of its battles, the Dominion's arrogance shattered, their officers recognizing for the first time that the catastrophe unfolding before them was of their own making, a direct consequence of dismissing a species whose true capabilities had been hidden in plain sight, a species that had always adapted, survived, and when provoked, struck with a precision and resolve that would forever alter the balance of power in the galaxy. With the Dominion reeling from the relentless human counteroffensive, Earth scientists and military strategists turned their focus to long-term containment and decisive action, orchestrating operations that combined psychological, technological, and strategic warfare in ways the Dominion could neither anticipate nor comprehend, while humans on distant colony coordinated clandestine sabotage missions, intercepting Dominion supply chains and using improvised cloaking technologies to render their operations invisible to alien scanners, and every engagement revealed the Dominion's overconfidence as their fleet stumbled into elaborate ambushes designed around precise predictions of their tactics, while humans leveraged centuries of historical knowledge about strategy, deception, and human adaptability to manipulate the battlefield with almost uncanny foresight, and in the orbital theaters above Earth, waves of Dominion drones were systematically neutralized not through sheer firepower but through ingenuity, redirecting enemy energy beams using reflective satellites, scrambling communication arrays with sophisticated signal interference, and deploying autonomous AI units that learned and evolved mid-battle, turning each confrontation into a lesson for the invaders, who had assumed static, predictable behavior from a primitive species. And as key Dominion vessels were disabled or captured, human commanders ensured that their forces minimized collateral damage, preserving the planet's infrastructure and maintaining a moral high ground that the Dominion could not fathom. And on the political stage, humanity's diplomats began broadcasting evidence of Dominion overreach, intercepted communications, and humanitarian operations, framing the conflict not as a war of conquest but as a necessary defense against a civilization that had underestimated the consequences of its hubris, while within the Dominion, factional infighting erupted as admirals blamed each other for catastrophic failures, debates over tactics devolved into accusations of incompetence, and the unity that had once made the Empire formidable fractured under the weight of unexpected losses. And on Earth, leaders pushed humanity's technological envelope further, activating orbital weapon arrays, experimental propulsion systems, and advanced AI command networks that could simultaneously control hundreds of human and automated units with precision, while on the battlefield, human Marines and engineers coordinated strikes that combined stealth, intelligence, and adaptive strategy, neutralizing Dominion strongholds, disabling key fleets, and liberating colonized worlds. And the Dominion's shock deepened as human forces demonstrated the ability to anticipate not only their moves but also their psychological reactions, exploiting fear, hesitation, and overconfidence to set traps that caused devastating chain reactions. And as months passed, Dominion morale crumbled. Officers fled or surrendered, and the remaining fleets were forced into defensive postures as humans consolidated control of strategic sectors. And in every engagement, humanity revealed not just raw capability but a level of discipline, creativity, and foresight that suggested centuries of preparation hidden behind the veil of apparent simplicity. And as Part 3 reached a crescendo, a coordinated assault on the Dominion's forward command station executed by a joint task force of humans and liberated allied species caused a cascade of system failures, decimating the Dominion's central command structure, sowing chaos among remaining fleets, and sending a stark message that the galaxy had gravely miscalculated humanity, a species that, when pushed, could orchestrate a catastrophe that would echo for generations, and that even in the depths of space, Earth's inhabitants had proven that underestimated strength, relentless determination, and unified ingenuity were weapons far deadlier than any conventional arsenal the Dominion had ever wielded. As the Dominion struggled to recover from the decimation of their forward command station, humanity pressed the advantage, deploying multi-pronged operations that combined orbital bombardments, targeted strikes on key infrastructure, and covert sabotage of Dominion logistics, while Earth's leaders coordinated with allied civilizations, species who had long suffered under Dominion oppression, to form a coalition that operated with unprecedented efficiency, communication, and trust, demonstrating humanity's unique ability to unite disparate groups under a common cause without the coercion or hierarchy the Dominion relied upon. And with each successful operation, human forces revealed increasingly sophisticated tactics, such as decoy fleets that mimic large-scale movements, electronic interference grids that neutralize enemy sensors, and adaptive AI strategies capable of improvising in real time, turning the Dominion's advanced weaponry against itself, while on the ground, human engineers and marines executed simultaneous strikes on orbital relay stations, planetary resource hubs, and Dominion forward outposts, each mission coordinated through a network of secure quantum communications that the Dominion could not intercept or disrupt, and as Dominion admirals attempted to regroup, they found their fleets hampered not only by human ingenuity but also by the unexpected resilience of liberated worlds, whose populations now actively resisted occupation under guidance from human operatives, sabotaging supply chains, commandeering Dominion technology, and relaying intelligence back to Earth, while human diplomats broadcast proof of Dominion atrocities across the sector, further eroding enemy morale and galvanizing allies. And as the Dominion attempted to mount a counteroffensive, humans exploited their predictable patterns with traps designed to cripple command hierarchies, using planetary gravitational anomalies to scatter fleets, remotely override unmanned systems, and manipulate energy fields that rendered Dominion shields useless. And throughout this escalation, humans displayed not only technological brilliance but emotional intelligence, leveraging fear, hope, and loyalty to coordinate actions that kept Allied populations motivated and Dominion forces confused. While back on Earth, research teams accelerated the development of next-generation starships capable of matching Dominion speed and firepower, integrating AI-assisted navigation, adaptive energy shielding, and automated tactical systems that allowed smaller, more agile fleets to outmaneuver vastly larger enemy forces. And as battles intensified across multiple systems, humans executed daring boarding operations on Dominion command vessels, disabling key systems, seizing critical intelligence, and turning enemy technology into tools for further offense. And the psychological impact was profound, as Dominion crews who had once believed themselves invincible now faced humans who combined courage, adaptability, and strategy in a way that defied expectation. And as weeks passed, the Dominion's losses became catastrophic, their fleets fragmented, supply chains irreparably disrupted, and internal dissent spreading like wildfire, forcing the highest councils to acknowledge that humanity was not a species it controlled or underestimated. While Earth's leaders continued to balance aggressive tactics with restraint, liberating world without unnecessary destruction, demonstrating a level of moral and strategic sophistication that left allies inspired and enemies horrified. And in the midst of this relentless campaign, humans introduced advanced AI commanders capable of predicting Dominion maneuvers several steps ahead, coordinating multi-system attacks with clockwork precision, and turning even the smallest skirmishes into opportunities for decisive advantage. And as the Dominion scrambled to respond, the universe began to witness the full scope of humanity's capabilities, resilience, ingenuity, strategic genius, and the uncompromising will to survive and protect, proving that the miscalculation that had seemed trivial at first would reverberate across galaxies as a catastrophe of their own making, and that every assumption the Dominion had held about humanity was not only wrong but catastrophically so, setting the stage for an outcome that would forever redefine the balance of power in the sector and the legacy of a species the galaxy had foolishly dismissed. With the Dominion in disarray, human forces escalated their campaign to a level that left even the most battle-hardened alien commanders reeling, orchestrating simultaneous assaults across multiple star systems that combined precision orbital strikes, infiltration of Dominion strongholds, and disruption of vital energy and supply networks. While Earth's leaders coordinated with liberated colonies and allied species to ensure each operation was synchronized to maximize both efficiency and psychological impact, demonstrating an understanding of warfare that blended tactical genius with moral clarity. And as Dominion fleets attempted to regroup, they were met with sophisticated traps designed around their expectations, from electromagnetic interference fields that rendered their weapons inoperative, to gravitational manipulation of star clusters that forced their formations into chaotic collisions. And humans used these maneuvers not only to neutralize enemy strength but to capture key technologies, reverse-engineer Dominion systems, and deploy them in clever counterattacks, all executed with such precision that the Dominion struggled to comprehend how a supposedly primitive species had so thoroughly dominated a civilization that prided itself on technological superiority. And as Dominion officers debated strategy in panic, Humans launched coordinated boarding operations on multiple command vessels, neutralizing officers, seizing intelligence, and systematically dismantling the infrastructure of their enemy's war machine, while liberated populations provided critical support, feeding intelligence, sabotaging Dominion operations, and rallying to the human cause, further tipping the balance. And in orbital confrontations, human pilots executed maneuvers that defied conventional physics expectations, exploiting microgravity, adaptive shield patterns, and AI-assisted targeting to strike vital points with surgical precision, while on planetary surfaces, engineers deployed autonomous systems that repaired defenses, redirected energy flows, and created near-impenetrable zones that rendered Dominion ground forces ineffective. And as weeks passed, Dominion propaganda failed to sustain morale, with crews fleeing engagements, surrendering en masse, or experiencing mutinies as the human coalition demonstrated a mastery of both strategy and technology, proving time and again that adaptability, innovation, and cohesion outweighed raw numbers or firepower. And with every success, humanity expanded its sphere of influence, liberating oppressed species, stabilizing worlds ravaged by Dominion occupation, and demonstrating an unprecedented blend of discipline, empathy, and foresight, while Dominion political and military councils descended into chaos, unable to manage fractured fleets, insubordinate officers, or the realization that their underestimation of humanity had unleashed irreversible consequences. And in a bold demonstration of tactical brilliance, humans orchestrated a multi-system blockade that cut off Dominion reinforcements, isolated their key command centers, and forced remaining fleets into surrender negotiations under conditions dictated entirely by human terms, highlighting the unparalleled combination of strategy, intelligence, and moral authority that defined human leadership. And as messages were broadcast across the sector announcing liberation of colonies and the fall of Dominion's strongholds, every sentient species learned the same lesson, that humanity was not only capable of defending itself but could coordinate a galaxy-spanning campaign with precision, foresight, and an unwavering commitment to justice and survival. And as the Dominion's remnants retreated in defeat, staggering under the weight of their losses and the ingenuity of their underestimated adversary, the galaxy witnessed a turning point in history, one that marked the emergence of humans not as a minor player, but as a dominant force whose intelligence, resilience, and unyielding spirit had transformed catastrophe into triumph and ensured that their legacy would endure as a warning to all who dared misjudge them. As the Dominion reeled from staggering defeats and the loss of countless star systems, humanity pushed its advantage to assert complete operational superiority across contested sectors, employing advanced AI coordination, adaptive fleet maneuvers, and hyper-efficient resource management that allowed relatively small human forces to outmaneuver and outthink vastly larger alien armadas, while Earth's leaders continued to integrate intelligence gathered from Dominion technology, converting captured ships into multipurpose vessels capable of acting as decoys, assault platforms, and rapid response units, and as humans executed orbital blockades, infiltrations, and planetary strikes simultaneously, Dominion officers began to recognize that their failures were not the result of luck or isolated tactical errors, but of a species whose strategic depth, adaptability, and unity exceeded all precedent. And on the front lines, human squads conducted surgical boarding operations that incapacitated entire fleets by neutralizing command nodes, turning Dominion systems against themselves, while liberated allies coordinated guerrilla-style interventions that disrupted supply chains, communications, and orbital defenses, further amplifying humanity's impact. And every engagement became a demonstration of human ingenuity, from predictive modeling of enemy behavior, rapid improvisation in response to unforeseen threats, and the seamless integration of diplomacy, tactical operations, and technological innovation, showing that humans did not fight merely with weapons but with intelligence, foresight, and moral purpose. And as Dominion fleets attempted desperate maneuvers to escape encirclement, humans anticipated at every move, deploying countermeasures that rendered engines inoperative, shields ineffective, and energy arrays self-destructing, causing catastrophic cascading failures across the alien formation, while on strategic worlds, human engineers implemented defensive systems that combined automated AI sentinels, electromagnetic disruption fields, and rapid response strike platforms, neutralizing Dominion counterattacks before they could gain momentum, and through a combination of liberation operations, tactical assaults, and psychological warfare, humans systematically dismantled Dominion morale, leaving surviving officers and crews demoralized and disorganized, unable to coordinate or even comprehend the scope of human capability. And as Earth's fleet coordinated a final assault on the Dominion's Central Command Nexus, a network of orbital stations, flagship carriers, and support vessels converged with surgical precision, disabling key systems, capturing critical intelligence, and forcing surrender. While throughout this climax, human leaders balanced overwhelming force with careful restraint, sparing populations, infrastructure, and cultural sites to demonstrate not only military dominance but ethical and strategic mastery. And as Dominion High Command crumbled under the relentless pressure of human operations, reports flooded across liberated systems showing the full breadth of humanity's capabilities, from advanced orbital warfare techniques and AI-assisted tactical planning to adaptive battlefield engineering and unprecedented coalition coordination, proving that their underestimated adversary had transformed perceived weakness into extraordinary strength, and as the last Dominion fleets retreated into isolated sectors, broken and scattered, humanity's triumph was undeniable, their ingenuity, resilience, and tactical brilliance having executed a catastrophe of Dominion origin that now became a defining moment in galactic history, leaving the galaxy irrevocably changed, with a clear message to all civilizations. Underestimate humanity at your own peril, for their combination of intelligence, foresight, and unwavering will to protect and survive was a force unlike any other the stars had ever seen. And that the miscalculation, which had seemed trivial at first, had unleashed a reckoning that would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. With the Dominion shattered and retreating to the farthest reaches of their territory, humanity shifted from relentless offense to strategic consolidation, securing liberated systems, stabilizing interstellar infrastructure, and establishing defensive perimeters that ensured no future threat could exploit the chaos that had once allowed the Dominion to dominate. While Earth's leaders coordinated diplomatic overtures to newly freed species, fostering alliances built on trust, cooperation, and shared survival, demonstrating that humanity's power was not solely martial but also moral and organizational, and as fleets repaired, rebuilt, and reconfigured with technology scavenged and improved from Dominion assets, humans revealed innovations that dwarf what the invaders had assumed primitive societies could achieve. From interlinked AI command networks capable of managing entire sectors with flawless efficiency to hyperspace navigation systems that allowed rapid redeployment across star systems, and every liberated world bore witness to humanity's combination of restraint, foresight, and uncompromising will, as local populations were empowered to govern themselves with human guidance while fleets patrolled and defended against any remnants of Dominion resistance, and within the Dominion's ranks, panic and despair replaced arrogance and confidence, as high commanders realized that their misjudgment of humanity had caused catastrophic losses not merely in ships and personnel but in political credibility and interstellar influence, and humans, aware of the galaxy-wide precedent they had set, demonstrated a calculated balance between deterrence and diplomacy, broadcasting warnings, and establishing secure communication channels to ensure no civilization would repeat the mistake of underestimating them, while also using the experience to strengthen internal resilience, expand scientific research, and refine military strategies that had proven devastatingly effective against even the most sophisticated opponents. And as interstellar commerce, culture, and diplomacy began to recover, humanity's triumph was marked not by conquest but by the recognition that their species had endured every test, transformed vulnerability into power, and redefined what it meant to be a dominant force in the galaxy. And in the final analysis, the Dominion's catastrophic errors became a cautionary tale, retold across liberated systems as civilizations realized that humanity's combination of ingenuity, adaptability, ethical judgment, and unyielding resolve created a form of strength that could not be measured by numbers, technology, or intimidation alone, for a species that thrived on survival, collaboration, and protective instincts could, when provoked, orchestrate consequences of unimaginable magnitude. And as the dust settled across the galaxy, humans stood not as conquerors but as guardians of a new balance, their true capabilities revealed, their underestimated strength now legendary, and the universe forever reminded that any civilization daring to misjudge humanity would face repercussions that were as inevitable as they were catastrophic, and that the lessons of hubris, arrogance, and miscalculation would echo through the stars for generations, securing humanity's place not merely as survivors but as architects of their own destiny, a species whose ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable spirit had turned their annihilation into an enduring legacy that would shape the course of galactic history for eons to come, leaving all who witnessed with the undeniable truth that humanity's strength, once ignored, could never again be underestimated or forgotten.